Ghost Rider and the Muslim. This is a prison story I guarantee that you've never heard. For 2 weeks, I was on a tier in the cell block, extended lockdown, with a Muslim named Muhammad and an atheist named Ghost Rider. And for some reason, beef kicked off between an atheist and a Muslim. And the Muslim, like I said, his name was Muhammad. And something I've come to realize and learn while I was in prison, that most dudes who go to prison who convert to Islam, they eventually change their name to Muhammad. That's right. You have a lot of Islamic converts that call themselves Muhammad. I even met one dude whose name was Muhammad. He was named Muhammad, but he wasn't a Muslim. When he got to prison, he became a Muslim, so they call him Muhammad. Now, if you know why dudes change their names to Muhammad, you can share in the comments below. But I found out a lot of things, but I never found out why they all call themselves Muhammad. Anyway, let me paint this picture for you. Muhammad was a black dude. Ghost Rider was a white dude. Muhammad was a Muslim. Ghost Rider was an atheist. Now, these two dudes didn't know each other per se, other than from the prison. These two dudes didn't have beef or problems with one another until they wound up in the cell block. Neither one of these dudes were what you would call a pushover, a chump, or a coward. Neither was either one of them a troublemaker. But something happened in the cell block that turned these two individuals from basically two cool dudes to two dudes who went straight up savage in the cell block. Both of them went to extreme measures to try to disrespect the other one. And I'm gonna tell you something. In the end, what happened will blow your mind, because what Ghost Rider did in the end was the ultimate sign of disrespect to anyone who practices Islam. So this is exactly what happened. Muhammad was in his cell, and one day when the orderlies and the officers were handing out trays during lunchtime, they gave Muhammad a tray that had pork on it. Well, in prison, you can have a special dietary tray or a dietary restriction based on your religion, specifically if you're a Muslim. Yeah, let's be honest, they do cater to the Muslims. Nobody else was getting special trays other than the Muslims. Eventually, the Seventh-day Adventists, they started getting special trays, and I even knew one dude who claimed to be a Jew, and he got a special tray. But they barely did it for anybody else. They mainly did it for the Muslims. So the Muslims got special treatment, so they can't complain and cry, right? Because in prison, they get special treatment. They get special dietary trays. They ain't giving nobody else no dietary tray based on anything. Anyway, the Muslims got his plate, Muhammad, and when he gets his plate, he goes to eat his food, and they got pork on. He says, "Say, Cap, they got pork on his tray." And the Cap is like, which is not a big deal, because like I said, they hand out these trays specifically non-pork. And so the dude was like, "Man, y'all supposed to give me a different tray." And they said, "Oh, my bad, I don't have it on my list." And so the Cap took the tray back, and he said, "We'll have to get back to you as soon as we get it back from the kitchen. We'll send your tray down to you. You might have to wait a minute because we don't have one on the cart." And so no problem, cool. Everybody's eating, everybody eats, everybody moves on, right? And so here we go, and it's about an hour and a half, and nothing happens, but somehow or another, Muhammad still hasn't got his tray. And the tier is quiet, and all of a sudden, Muhammad starts shaking his bars. Shaking his bars, and it makes a lot of noise. If you ever been to prison, when you rattle bars, they are loud when you can rack them bars around. And when he did that, he starts screaming, "I ain't got my mother effing tray. Say I ain't got my tray. Where's my tray at?" And all of a sudden, man, everybody's like, "Dang, man," because it was a quiet on the tier. Usually after lunch, dudes will talk a while, and then there'll be like this moment where everything gets quiet for a while, and dudes actually, taking naps, and they're relaxing for a little while. Well, that was during this time, and I guess Muhammad had got frustrated because he still hadn't got his tray. Well, when he did that, he woke up Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider was sleeping, and Ghost Rider's like, "Say, man, why you making all that noise? You woke me up." And Muhammad says to Ghost Rider, who's multiple cells down, he says, "Say, bruh, this ain't got nothing to do with you, man. Stay out of my business, man. This ain't got nothing to do with you." And Ghost Rider says, man, it got everything to do with me, man. I'm down here trying to chill, man. I'm down here sleeping and you waking me up, man. Quit racking them bars. And then Muhammad starts racking the bars. Whoa, 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 whoa. Racking the bars. He said, ain't nobody, man, Cap, bring my food, Cap. And the cat comes down the tear and says, what's going on? What's going on? And the officer walks up to Muhammad's cell. He's like, what's going on? He said, man, y'all ain't getting my tray yet, man. It's been over an hour. I want my tray. And the dude in the cap says, listen, we know we haven't forgotten you. The child hall still has not brought us your tray. We can't do nothing until they bring it to us. You know what I mean? And he says, all right, man, don't make me, you know, I shouldn't have to wait, man. I better get my tray. And the cap's like, man, you're going to get your tray. Just be patient. Anyway, the cap walks away. He comes back. As soon as he walks away, he goes back, he comes back. And so, you know what I mean? He got the tray. So they must have brought the tray, either that or the officers were playing games with him and they didn't want to bring the tray because he was probably sitting in the key taking a nap. I don't know, but they brought the tray back. The dude eats his food and things go back to quiet. Well, Ghost Rider comes out later on in the day going down the child. You know what I mean? Everything got quiet back to normal. Ghost Rider, when he's going to take his, not the child, when Ghost Rider's going to take his shower, when they rack his cell back, and it's one cell at a time that goes take their shower on a tier. And so he's going to take his shower and he stops at Muhammad's cell. And he says, say Muhammad. And Muhammad, they start talking and Ghost Rider's like, look, man, I understand, you know, that them people messed up with your tray. He said, but I ain't got nothing to do with them people. And Ghost Rider says, furthermore, man, take that out on the people. Don't take that out on the rest of the tier. You know, we still require respect too. He said, I ain't disrespecting you, you know. And then Muhammad kind of takes that personal, like Ghost Rider was checking him. And Muhammad says, say, and like I said, Ghost Rider's white, Muhammad's black. So Muhammad says, man, white boy, you trying to check me? And Ghost Rider says, mother effer, I ain't trying to check nothing. But since you want to go there, now I'm checking your BITCHASS. And then Muhammad says, boy, you want to disrespect me like that? Boy, you lucky I don't get out these bars. And Ghost Rider said, you ain't going to do nothing. Said, bump your gums. And Muhammad's like, boy, I'm going to serve you, boy. I'm going to get you. You know what I mean? And so they get into it. Ghost Rider walks off. Muhammad gets out for the shower and he walks back there and he's mean mugging him in his cell. And the next thing that goes on for days, these dudes, every time these dudes get out the shower to go shower, they both walking up and down the tier, mean mugging each other inside the cells. Things begin to escalate. And if you know anything about Islam, at a certain time of day, they pray, you know, on their prayer mat, and they say their prayers and they, you know, kneel, get up, kneel, get down, say prayers, face toward Mecca. And you know, there's a certain time they do that. Well, Ghost Rider and Muhammad have been ball fighting. They call that ball fighting, going back and forth because they can't get at each other because both of them are blocked by the prison bars. They have been bar fighting for this time for about 3 days. And all of a sudden it's going to the next level because Muhammad's calling, you know, Ghost Rider names and Ghost Rider's calling Muhammad names. And so Ghost Rider decides to take it to the next level. He's down there praying, and while he's doing it, Ghost Rider starts cutting up. He starts shaking the bars. Wah, 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 wah. He said, say, Muhammad, you're blah, 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 back and forth. He said, you're down there praying, huh? Oh, fake prayers, man. God don't hear you. You're a fake Muslim, You're a fake Muslim. You just got converted since you've been in here. You ain't no real Muslim. And Muhammad said, man, don't disrespect me, man. Don't disrespect me like that. You know what I mean? Disrespect my religion. He said, I don't care about nothing. And so Muhammad starts yelling at Ghost Rider, and he just assumes this is what happened. He yells down there to Ghost Rider and starts mocking Christianity, saying your God's fake, you know, Jesus ain't the real savior, you know what I mean, y'all fake, that's the fake religion, it's the white man's religion. And then Ghost Rider starts laughing, and Ghost Rider's like, like a sinister laugh, right? And as he's laughing, he starts saying, boy, you don't know me, Muhammad, you don't know me. He said, I don't believe in no God. He said, I'm an atheist. He said, I don't believe in your God. I don't believe in their God. I don't believe in no God. I believe in myself. And he said, just like that, he said, I'm going to show you. And these dudes, neither one of these dudes are confident. Neither one's backing up, and it's getting mad. And so now Muhammad feels totally disrespected behind Ghost Rider. And keep in mind, from my point of view, they're both you know what I mean, being disrespectful to each other. It started behind a misunderstanding that never happened, but now they're just equally disrespecting each other. This is what takes it to the complete next level where it gets crazy. Muhammad apparently had enough, and he goes out to shower one day, and he's walking down the tier, and he goes up, and keep in mind, at this point, neither person took a swing at each other because they can't, because it wouldn't do no good, because it's called bar fighting. So they only using their words to taunt one another. Well, at this point, Muhammad feels like he was disrespected so much that he has to take it to the next level. So he goes all the way down there. He says, "Let me holler at you, Ghost Rider, bro. We need to bring this to a conclusion, bro." And Ghost Rider said, "All right, man." He gets up from his bed, walks up to the bars. As soon as he walks up to the bars, he got splashed in the face with pee. Muhammad splashed that man in the face with a cup full of urine. And Ghost Rider's like yelling, "Man, you pissed me down. You pissed me down." He said, "That's right, I pissed your old punk white ass down by you. Bitch, you ain't gonna disrespect me like that." And Ghost Rider's like, "Oh, man." He said, and Ghost Rider's crazy too. And Ghost Rider sits there and he starts laughing again. Like a lunatic, right? Both of them acting like lunatics. And Ghost Rider's laughing, and they say Ghost Rider starts taking his hands and rubbing it all over his face and licking the pee, and said, "Boy, you ain't gonna do nothing." He's like, "I just don't do nothing to me. I'm a savage." And Muhammad said, "Boy, you ain't nothing but a punk. Only a punk licks pee." And nobody ain't saying nothing. It's the deep drama. Anyway, man, guards come down there, and the guards are like, "Man, what y'all doing down there?" And all of a sudden, neither one of these dudes were ratting on each other. Neither one of them let the people get involved in it. And so Ghost Rider don't say nothing. He stays in the cell. All of them, he stayed in the cell for about 6 or 7, 8 hours until it was time to take a shower, before he finally got out to go take a shower and wash his face and his body from Muhammad dashing him with that stale piss. So anyway, couple of days go by. They're going back and forth at it. Neither one tell nothing. You thinking everything's settling down. They they're still bumping their guns a little bit, but things are kind of settling down. So you thinking things are over with. So now everything is just eerily quiet. Everything's kind of still. We're almost 2 weeks into this. And the only time that any physicality was involved was when Muhammad pissed Ghost Rider down. Well, things got quiet, like I said. But nobody knew that Ghost Rider was down there stirring up a concoction. He was down there doing something so devious and so diabolical that if you did this to any Muslim, it would be a cause for one person or the other to have to be unalive, to lose their life. He's down there taking, every time that they serve us pork, he's taking the pork, chewing it up, regurgitating, and mixing it in his feces. And he does this for about 3 or 4 days. And he gets out for the shower, and he goes to Muhammad's cell, and he takes this concoction and he splashes Muhammad with feces that's mixed with pork. That's right, pigs. He basically hit him up with a bunch of regurgitated pig and pork. And if you know anything about Islam, they don't like to eat pork. Pork is considered an unsacred thing that you cannot partake in. And Ghost Rider looks, and Muhammad says, "Man, you just pissed me down." And S-H-I blank me down. And Ghost Rider said, "Oh, yeah, I ain't just did that." He said, "I ain't just did that. You don't smell it?" He said, "You don't smell it?" And he's like, and at this point, Muhammad's just trying to figure it out, He's quiet, he's mad. And all of a sudden, Ghost Rider says, "You don't smell that?" He said, "Boy, that ain't nothing but that pork grease. That ain't nothing but that pork grease that came right out of my mouth and right out of my butt." And Muhammad's like, "What?" He said, "That's right." And you could see, there's a few dudes who's right there next to the cell. You could see him. And Ghost Rider's kind of staring like this. He's like, "Boy, I just disrespected you on a whole nother level." He said, "You disrespected me, man? They got pork in there?" He said, "They got pork in there, boy. I've been saving my pork off of every tray, gurgitating out my mouth and out my butt, and now it's in your face and in your mouth. What you gonna do?" And he's like, "Oh, you disrespected, man. You disrespect me like that, man. I'ma kill you. I'm unalive you." You know what I mean? That's how bad it got. Ghost Rider had literally dishonored this dude on a whole nother level. Man, I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't know what's going to happen. And so eventually I leave the tier and go back down to the compound. And I don't know what happened to Ghost Rider and Muhammad, or if they ever had an opportunity to see each other and get in a fist fight. But I ain't never heard about either one of them being unalived. So it never got to that point. But if they ever got in a fight, I don't know. But all I know is I ain't never seen somebody disrespect somebody like he did him. Now, you can argue that they both disrespected each other, which they did. But Ghost Rider took it to a whole nother level. And I guess you can say that Ghost Rider was in the right because he was the first one who got pissed down. So he just took it to the next level. But here's the thing. I do remember that Muhammad was like, you disrespected the nation, talking about the nation of Islam, and Ghost Rider said it out loud, so it was clear everybody was on hurt. He said, I ain't disrespect no nation, I disrespected you. You coward mother effer. He said, I don't disrespect nobody else. He said, this is me and you. And so it was personal between them two dudes. And I don't know what happened. And that's the type of stories you get on a Pen and the Shank. The most unusual and unique crime and prison related experience on YouTube. So you should like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. Share this video so other people can begin to find my videos who are interested in the crime and prison genre, who want to hear something different and unique. You know what I mean? A bit odd. Go check out my videos. I even talk about crimes that are occurring that nobody else ain't covering. Listen, you ain't just going to get trending here. If you don't want the same old, you in the right place. And share in the comments what you think. And listen, here, my personal experience. I was a Christian in prison. I'm still a Christian today. I remember reading the books of Moses. You know what I mean? And they said that, God's people, the Jews, shouldn't eat pork. You know what I mean? So I went to the prison officials as a Christian and said, look, Christians need dietary restrictions as well. I don't want to eat pork. They said, well, what religion? I told them I'm Christian. They said, well, we don't have that for Christians. I said, well, I follow the Bible. And I showed them in the Bible where it was that Christians couldn't eat pork according to the laws of Moses. And they would not put me on it. So I went back a week later and said, look, I convert to Islam, which I was lying. I just didn't want to eat pork no more. And I felt like I was in the right as a Christian to have a non-pork tray as well, because Moses said don't eat the pork. And so that's why I was going with it. But they never did give in to me. Even after I tried to be claimed a Muslim, they're like, you ain't no Muslim. You're just trying to get that pork tray taken off your list so you can get a dietary restriction. And they never did let me get it. But I knew a dude who they call him Jew Boy. And he really wasn't a Jew, but he pretended to be a Jew, and they gave him non-pork. And he said he practiced Judaism. You know what I mean? Which is the books of Moses. But if you're a Christian, we go by the same books, except we got the New Testament. So I felt like I should get non-pork. Now, you can share in the comments whether you think it's stupid or not that the prisons in each state or in the feds allow people to practice their religions by giving them, the plates that they deem fit. But that's not true, because they wouldn't give it to me. And so that's why I'm kind of sideways behind the whole issue. I think it's cool that they give everybody this trade, but if you're going to give it to one, you got to give it to everybody. Anyway, man, thanks for watching the Pen and the Shank. Let's get this.